much too much. I love you much too much. I've known it from the start, right from the start. But yet my love is such, I can't control my heart.
Welcome back to the show. It's Pablo. That's Lasha over there. This is the Strikeout Bros. We're back again with the bullshit. That's what we're back again with. What's good, Lash?
Our teams decide to hit the struggle bus this past week, so it's kind
Well,
of frustrating.
I mean,
That's baseball. Ups and downs.
yeah, a little
But
different this week for us. I mean,
it's a little better, a little some light at the end of the
yeah,
tunnel, but
yeah.
not
If
much.
you wanna say so. I mean, but you want to talk about how a lot of these teams are below 500, and that's what we're gonna be discussing today. Like, what's going on? It seems like the trade deadline is gonna get pushed up a little closer than we thought. Because not everybody's gonna start making moves a lot earlier than expected because of this. Because everybody's looking for some type of spark or some shit.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, it's a month and a half into the season, and I don't know what it is, but the American League only has three teams above 500, and those teams are the Yankees, the Athletics, and let's see, Yankees, Athletics, I think, and Tampa Bay Devil Rays. So uh, the American League Central is everyone's under 500. Detroit and Cleveland are tied at the top. Chicago's interesting. They're a team that's supposed to be rebuilding, but they're right up there. So everyone's just like middling around. It's good now, but actually it might be more exciting at the end of the year because then you have more teams vying for what you hope is the last wild card spot. Or what's going to happen is there's going to be a month where one of those two teams just go off on a tangent, just destroy their, just take off and to develop a massive gap in their division, just win that division. So it'll be interesting, but the National League has been amazing. You know, Mm,
you know,
I know you disagree, but
I don't know. I'm not disagreeing. What I'm laughing at is the fact that the Mets garbage, right? They're still garbage, man. Whatever.
hot garbage,
But you know what?
steaming
You know what's
pile of
funny?
poop.
We were driving down the street and we saw you guys on the side of it, and we picked you up, and now you're on that fucking garbage ass bus just with us. It's crazy. You guys are almost 10 games back right now from the Yankees. All right, the Yankees with the hot start, 25
Yeah,
and
nine
11.
games out.
Tampa Bay 23 and 12, and you guys are 9 games back in third place. That's fucking crazy. All right, you know what? For something, we suck, but you guys fucking suck too. Okay.
No, the Yankees
Yeah.
just handed it to us. They've beat us in every pillar to post, every bullpen, pitch, starting staff, offense. They just
Yeah,
dominant,
they're
and
just not as
it's
they're
just
just a
Dora's
little
not
better
as
than
good.
us. Yeah, you guys are trash too. I mean, listen, we won the last, out of the last 10, we won four. We won three out of the last four. We won the last one in that, in Anaheim. We took the series, blah blah blah. Then we played the Colorado Rockies. We took the first one after getting swept at home by them. So it's not like it snowed over there today. So it got postponed.
Oh,
So
really? I thought it was just rain, but yeah, it makes sense. It's Colorado.
yeah, it was snow, bro. So maybe doubleheader, situation.
On
I
from
mean,
getaway day. That what's
they
today?
had one. They had
Tuesday. So
one.
Thursday they have a
Thursday
doubleheader.
they had a day off. Yeah, so they're gonna play. I guess I don't know.
Oh, they have a day off on Thursday.
Yeah, something like
Why aren't the
that.
Mets coming home, or are they going back somewhere else? Oh, it's
Oh
a
no,
nine game road stand.
we go to Arizona after that.
Okay, and then that's your road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Angels series minus that game on Saturday, that was a pretty good game.
I mean, no, it's not. We're still trash, bro. Listen,
Yeah, you won,
not
man. You
hitting.
got. I know, but hey, you gotta take advantage of the bad teams. Look at the Yankees; they took advantage of Baltimore.
We're the bad team, bro. We can't take it. We're taking advantage of ourselves, bro. It's pretty awful. Mauricio out. Polanco apparently is taking, at bats now. He's out now, though. You have Lindor out. You know, we're just not, figuring
Soto's
it
back,
out.
but
Yeah, he's
Soto
hitting.
really's yeah he didn't really miss much. You know what I mean?
He
Like
hit in the number one slot last night for the first time, and it looks like it works. Same
Bichette's
strategy
been
that we talked
struggling.
about. No, actually, he's been hitting. We'll talk about the numbers in a few, but the question is, at this point, even though it's still early, like people want to, they always mention it's not early anymore. You have to figure out what you are. Are you a seller or are you gonna try to go for it? I mean, obviously, that Stearns already stated that he wasn't gonna get rid of Mendoza. Alex Cora's out there, but you know what? All that shit is bullshit and fishy because I heard a rumor that they spoke to Dusty Baker, and
Oh wow, he was
and
thinking about
Dusty
coming out.
and Dusty Baker stated that he wanted to bring his own team in, and I guess that's when they hit the wall. This is what I heard. I'm not sure how true that is, but if that's the case, after that, he states, Stern stated that he wasn't going to get rid of Mendoza. And I think that they should still get rid of Mendoza. I think that's part of the problem. Yeah, we have a lot of injuries to our team right now, but we're still not hitting the hitting coach. I read another report. It's like 8 new coaches, 20 something new players. It takes a while for that machine to run properly. It's a lot of changes to a team in a short span of time. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, here's the way I look at it. Okay, so if you're not going to fire Mendoza, you're basically taking all the responsibility. Uh, Stearns is basically saying, "Well, it's not Mendoza, so it's me. But I know you're not going to get rid of me because I have a great relationship with Steve Cohen. He wanted me. He's not going to just get rid of me. Plus, it's the middle of the season, so you're not going to get rid of him. So y'all just gonna have to deal with it. I made the mess. He kind of, one thing I do give Stearns credit for is he does talk. He does come up to the mic and talk, and faces the slings and arrows. He doesn't just hide. Like teams, other New York teams in the past, where they'll just hide and just hope they get forgotten about. So he has answered the questions, but it's just not good enough. My thing is like, did Stearns think that the guys he brought in was good based off the numbers from last year, or where did he get that notion that these guys would fit right in here? Because it doesn't work like that. It takes a while to get adjusted to the new surroundings and new areas and the way the locker room flow goes. It's a lot different. And to bring in, was it four guys they brought in? How many guys did they bring in?
More than that.
About, let's just say 5 to 10 guys. All right.
This is the problem.
So there's
He
no
had
chemistry involved.
no, there isn't. But he's betting on himself, right? Remember, this is the same guy that put together that 2024 ball club, and it really wasn't working at first. And he bet on himself. He said, you know what? He stated that he didn't know why the team wasn't playing to the best of his ability, and he couldn't figure it out because he put it together thinking that he had a winner. And look how far they got, but it took a long time for them to figure it out. Now, at this point in the season, when the Braves took off, and you have that serious deficit now at 11 and a half, and you're barely winning games here and there, so many extra innings. The pitching has been there, you know, but we just can't produce runs for these pitchers, so we end up taking these, serious losses. And I don't know. I can't explain it. I think he just wants to try to figure it out. He thinks that he still has something. He feels like he's not down and out. I believe he's down and out. It's gonna be too hard to get back. What are we? Uh, you know, a playoff team that gonna start the season at 13 and 22. A wild card is not even an option at this point. You know. I don't think so. Not even a wild card option is available at this point. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, Bichette's been hitting, Soto's been hitting, but they're hitting it at the wrong times. Bases loaded, no outs, can't produce a run. Like that kind of situation bothers me. But the whole league is, there's a couple of teams doing their thing, and then the whole league is doing the exact same thing. You know, I didn't think you guys were gonna be this bad so fast. I think you guys had a chance. Now you guys are looking, like you can't make it either. I don't know.
Well, with Baltimore and if you listen back to the when we did the season preview, I said my biggest concern was pitching, and to win games, you need pitching. Great offenses feed off of good pitching. Now you're gonna say, "Who are you talking about, Lasha? Look at the Mets; they have great pitching all the time. They just don't get any runs. That's a bunch of bull jive."
I mean, the
But for the
pitching has
most
been there.
part,
I can't complain
it's
about
true
the pitching. I cannot complain about the pitching.
for the Mets.
Yeah,
No, the
I
Mets
can't.
been. That's what I mean. The pitching's been good.
It's been really
Yeah,
good.
the pitching. But what I'm trying to say is most of the time the offense feeds off of the good pitching, but that's not the case with the Mets because the Mets have good pitching. Their rotation is good. The back end of the bullpen sometimes leaves you something to desire for, but for the most part, it's Bond has done his thing. So he's been, in my opinion, the ace in that bullpen. Williams, you never know what you're going to get with him. Kimbrough is old. He can't play for nothing. And then the other guys are just, fill-ins until you can get to the ninth inning. But for the Orioles, they just have no true ace. Zach Eflin got hurt. Trevor Rogers, yeah, he's doing okay, but he hasn't been lights out. Bradish came back from the IL last year, Tommy John. He's been terrible. Wells is in the bullpen. But this is what happens when you're cheap and you don't get the guys you need to get. You should have re-signed Corbin Burns. Now, hindsight 2020, I know, but you don't know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but a different situation, different place. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, you don't know that, but I always say it's a tall tale sign that Baltimore knew something about Corbin Burns that we didn't. We as fans don't know, and that's why they didn't sign him. So maybe they were something that they were looking at as physical. They're like, this is an issue that's gonna rear its ugly head later down the line, and maybe that's what happened. Arizona's trying to get back to the playoffs after missing last year and being 2 years removed from the playoffs. The Arizona has a decent rotation, but other than that, he hasn't been the same. But they did some trades. They got the guy Boss. The Orioles got that guy Boss from Tampa Bay. He's been inconsistent. He's all right, but he has good outings, but then the team doesn't score. The team. One thing I noticed about the Orioles, they're very inconsistent. What I mean by that is, one game they'll score 10 runs, and the next game they'll lose 17-1. Like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Or like, for example, today in the Yankee series, right? They only had 4 extra base hits in a 4-game series. You know how many extra base hits they had in today's game against Miami? 5. So it's the inconsistency is a problem in baseball because you can't win games like that. Because when you're down, other teams are running ahead of you. Look at the Yankees. Even when you're up, you're so far behind. It doesn't matter if the Yankees go on a 12-game losing streak. You're still not going to catch them. You know what I mean? Because it's 10-plus games already.
You have to win every day. At this
and
point,
you need them to lose.
You need
and Tampa Bay is good too.
Yeah, they're great. You need that win now, win every day energy. You have to win every series, and you have to pray for the opposing teams to lose. And this is the debacle, the deficits that these two teams have now. So short in the season, and it's like everybody's getting blown out the water, and you can kind of see it already, playing out. It's insane to me. It doesn't make any sense. The season is over before it started, and now this is a business, and this is what they're doing at the moment. Then it's gonna have to be a turnaround where all the losing teams start to turn it around and start to like even up the division, so people can start going to the ballparks and stuff like that. 'Cause at this point, the park is empty. For you, for me, for a lot of people, nobody wants to go see a losing ball club, especially when you blow so many games at home. When you know what's gonna happen, and we're talking about negative things. When you're 6-12 at home to start the season, there's no way in hell I'm gonna take anybody to the ballpark and spend money on that team. There's no way, especially at those prices. You want to kind of have a chance at it, and you don't want to take your family. You can't even take your family to see the bullshit teams because the bullshit teams are coming to City Field and sweeping the Mets. So this is what we're talking about. High expectations, and this is what happens. I still think we have a lot of great pieces, but I think it's time to start thinking about what we're gonna do. We get rid of these two amazing prospects for Peralta. Now we have to try to figure out how to get them back. Not them necessarily. I'm talking about get them back, get something back in return because this man isn't gonna want to sign with the Mets. So
And he's a Boris agent, so he's not gonna, have a nice chat with you in the middle of July about, hey, what numbers you're gonna give me. He's gonna wait, and also, season like this for someone like him, it's really gonna it's gonna play a major role whether he wants to come back because he's like, wait, yeah, I can get my money here. This is probably the only team that's gonna give me the money I want, most likely.
no,
But
a
do I want to
contender.
deal with the losing and the headache and the screaming from the fans and the reporters grilling me every five. I don't know. Maybe he's not built for that.
I mean, he's pitching well. But he can't get a W to save his life
But
because
that's not
he
his
gets no love
fault, man.
support. I know this is why he needs to move on. It's gonna
This
affect the stats. It's gonna affect a lot of things. Like this is a
it could
guy that
affect his money too, essentially.
I mean, if the Mets, do it smartly at this point, what do? You try to sign him and try to save face because that's the only way out of this one. If you can if you can get him to sign with you, I would do it. But if we're gonna play like shit and we can get something back in return, then it's only for rental. Because think about it, at this point, we don't even have him signed, but we can get something in return. It's not gonna be something big because there's no controllability. So interesting. Now we extended Luis Torrens, right? Who everybody seems to think is the better catcher in our situation right now. So what do? Do you give it uh,
Alvarez.
Alvarez and keep Senga? Senger, because we have Senga now. We can bring him up and get
Oh,
rid of
that's another
Alvarez.
catcher. What's his name?
Yes, Senga.
Sanger. Okay.
Yeah, this is the guy that was packing groceries at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or some shit like that.
Oh, that's a cool story, like a Kurt
Yeah,
Warner story.
yeah, something like that.
Well, what's really bothers me about Alvarez, man, because last year they sent him down to AAA, and he said, okay, he figured it out. He came back and he was just hitting home runs, game winning, and then he just like this year just reverted back to his old ways. I don't know if he's went back to his old format of like as far as approaching at the plate. I think that's what's really changed about him. His approach is a lot different than last year at the plate. Defensively, he's okay. He's not lights out, but he's not a problem behind the plate in my opinion. But the reason why they want to start Torrens is because Torrens is more productive at the plate. You know what I mean? He's
Better
clutch,
defensively as well.
better defensively too. I think Torrens has his bat is less
Yeah.
powerful than Alvarez in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You know what I mean? But that's the only difference between the two of them defensively and the bat. Two different
Well,
bats, two different defensively.
if the Mets were to do that to dangle Alvarez out there to see if anybody wants to pick that up, and listen, I'm not gonna. At this point, I don't know what I want. That's the crazy shit. Am I gonna be upset about that move? I mean, Vientos
Mm.
is hitting right now, which is crazy. He's had a two home run day the day before that, and then another two RBIs yesterday.
But his
So
defense is terrible, man.
yeah,
Oh
so
my
exactly,
lord.
don't have a slot for him either. So
You can't make
DH
him
or
a
nothing.
DH.
Because Polanco's coming back and he has to be the DH now. I don't know what we're doing at first. It's a lot of problems. So like, do you dangle Vientos as well? Do you dangle Vientos? Do you dangle Beatty? Do you dangle Alvarez? Do you dangle Peralta? Do you dangle Lindor? There's 5 years left on the
No.
contract. There's 5 years left on the contract. We can send them packing with one in his pocket already. So that would be a 4-year situation for whatever team that decides to pick him up for 5 years. We can get something in return for that. You know, listen, somebody's garbage is somebody else's gold. You know what I'm saying? Treasure. in this league.
Yeah.
And look, as soon as Cora got fired, everybody's on his dick and wants to talk to him. You know what I'm saying? This is the crazy shit about this sport. You can be trash here and you can be amazing over there. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter. Things is a revolving door, you know. It's funny how these guys go out there, they go on an 0 for 40 streak, they get DFA'd with the money, and then they end up on another team and they end up becoming superstars. It's crazy. Depends on the situation, the team, the time, everything. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, so do you dangle Lindor? You can even dangle. Listen, there's a lot of teams that were interested in Soto. These teams are still interested in Soto if they had a chance to get on him. So
Well,
you
Soto's
dangle him.
26. Lindor's what, 31,
It
30?
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, it does matter because you have more. You have with Soto. He's
You're
still
not
in his
gonna pick him.
prime.
I know, but that's not the point. The point is, do you dangle him? Do you get rid of him? Somebody's willing to bite. Okay, that's what I'm talking
No,
about.
he's
It's
gonna
not
be the
about
face of
trying
the
to get.
franchise.
Nah, who's the face of the franchise?
He will.
Who?
If you let go of Lindor, then Soto's gonna be the face of. Plus, you gave him $700 million.
I know. It
You
doesn't
can eat
matter.
up. You
can
can eat up
dangle that
Lindor
too.
better than Soto's contract.
If you sell Lindor anywhere for something with a year in his pocket, having the other team pay only 4, somebody's gonna do that shit, and we're gonna get something nice in return. I'm like, it's not gonna be amazing. I think something nice, maybe a little package deal or something.
If you get a first baseman, maybe a team like Baltimore. See, I see that a team like Baltimore because they have too many first basemen. I can see like Mountcastle. I like Mountcastle, but he's been hurt lately. But he's a true first baseman. He'd be good with the Mets. His bat has some pop. It's not like Alonso pop or Polanco pop, but he's a line drive hitter. He'll score the runs. He'll get on base, but he's pretty good defensively. So you just need a placeholder, and I think Mountcastle would be a good placeholder. Or what you do if you're the Mets is if you try to call up one of your prospects at Syracuse or Brooklyn, see if you have a first
No,
baseman
but
that can
with
maybe
that,
play.
can't do that until you get rid of all the shit that's on the field right now. So like, all right, if we do all that and get rid of everything and get a couple of placement holders, we can do that and then bring up the whole farm and then let's see what happens after that. Then we can go on a funny run. But before that happens, we have to get rid of all the junk on the field. And I think we can get rid of everybody if you really, really wanted to. Like I said, garbage here, amazing there. That's how it works in this league. So I think anything's possible. Yeah, are you right about not being able to get as much for Soto than you will Lindor? Of course you're right about that. But I'm saying that there's always a taker. And if you start asking people if they're interested, they're gonna really think about it and say, you know what? Yeah, I can see that working over here.
What you need you need a team that is really desperate and thinks they're just one piece away, and that's a team that's going to make that move.
Yeah, this is why a lot of people wait.
You
for
know what I
the
mean? So that's what you're hoping for.
Yeah, this is why they wait for the trailer deadline. This way, they can ask for a lot more because it's desperate times. You know what I'm saying? If you think you're one piece away from winning the World Series in 2026 and you need a shortstop that hits 30 home runs, well, he's not gonna give you 30 at this point. He's gonna give you 15 and be able to play great defense. Yeah, I think somebody's gonna think about that shit. Controllability for the next 5 years after the season's over. Yeah, I think somebody's gonna think about that. All right, so it's just about doing it at the right time. I think at this point, you wait another month and you start thinking about shit like that, or should you be thinking about that shit right now at the moment? I'm thinking about it right now at the moment because I don't really see this team going anywhere this year. So Bashir has an opt out after this year. He has one for this year coming up after the first one, and he has one after the second year. So is Bichette another player that?
But Bosher can walk at the end of this year, right? He has a year. He can walk out, which he might. He could do what Peralta's going to do, and just walk out. Which would suck.
Yeah, for
I don't know why he's struggling, man. It's really interesting. You know what I mean?
I mean, it makes sense, yo. Listen, you go from a different division, different league,
indoor stadium.
You see different type of fucking, the pitchers he's seeing now are completely different from the pitchers he was seeing in that league and division that he was in. All right, so he has to adjust to that. He has to adjust to a new position. He has to adjust to a new team. adjust to a whole lot of stuff. If he's ever gonna make it, it's not gonna happen over the first year. It's gonna happen over some time. It took Lindor some time. It's gonna take this guy some time. Lindor came from the American League as well, different division in the middle there somewhere, right in Cleveland, before they turned into the Guardians, the Indians. And he had time. It took him some time to adjust to the league and the division, and he finally figured it out. But now it seems like he's just broken. So why not give him a chance to start somewhere else? You know what I'm saying? We gave him 5 years to try to figure it out. The owner said we have 5 years before we would be serious contenders. It doesn't seem like it's working out. Then maybe we need a full reboot. You know, a full reboot where we lose for a while and then we really figure out what our situation is. And it's a shame because we have a man that's getting paid so much money in Soto, and we're wasting time instead of using him to win a championship. We're trying to figure out who he belongs with. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. What you could do what the Mets did a couple years ago with Verlander and all those guys. They
They broke
enhance
this
their
down.
farm system by getting
Yes,
good players. So they could do
exactly.
that again.
Yeah,
Now
but
half
we have
those
to
guys
get
are gone now,
yeah, but you have to get
but
rid of Lindor too. You have to get rid of Lindor. That involves getting rid of Lindor.
okay. So let's just say Lindor has $220 million left on his contract. You would have to eat up half of that contract for
No
someone to take
way.
it.
Are you
Yes.
crazy? No, that's
Yes.
crazy
Hey,
talk.
Steve, you got the most money, Dodo Brain. You're
No,
going to
it
have to eat
doesn't
this money. I'm
matter.
not taking him.
Nah,
Yeah, it does matter.
no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's
If you
crazy
want to get
talk.
rid of him, you'll do anything.
He's still a high caliber player. He's better than anybody on your team. He's trash right now.
Oh, I agree.
Okay,
I
then. So
agree.
exactly. So that being said, he's a high caliber player. He's not your average player. He's a household name. He's a player that will make a difference on any ball club. And he plays. He plays hard. I think he does a little bit too much here and there when it comes to other things. But he's a player that changes the dynamic of your team. And you can't say that if we dangle him, we have to send them with half. That's crazy. 2.5 years, no way. We can send them with one, and we're just being generous by doing that. I think there's still suitors out there that will pick him up for those 5 years that are left on his contract. He's not gonna be garbage. You know what I'm saying? Look at that. We decided that we didn't want Peter Alonso anymore. You decided that you needed him. Look, he's not much of a difference over there either. He's not doing amazing things in Baltimore.
No, he had a good series today,
Nah,
but yeah, he's been terrible. If
okay.
you defensively, he's great, but offensively, he's been trash. But
Listen, bro. The one
he's
thing
not
about
reliable.
Peter that I'm saying right now is that we don't have a real first baseman, so I can't compare him to anybody that's been playing first base for us in the last month of baseball. But you can tell that it's not easy playing first after watching Peter go. But still, don't miss him. You know. And like I said, we didn't want him, but guess what? You did. So that's exactly my point. If that happened, what makes you think Lindor wouldn't go? What makes you think Lindor wouldn't go? Because I know for a fact that you'd rather have Lindor playing first on your team than have fucking Alonso on that team playing first. So, you would rather have a Lindor playing out of position at first than have Peter on first right now as we speak. So don't tell me that I can't dangle Lindor and get something good in return. That's bullshit.
Uh, you can get something in return. No. You're gonna get something in return, but you're gonna have to eat a good portion of this contract.
Nah, 1
Just
year.
the way it is.
1 year.
No one's gonna
Can't-
No one's gonna say, all right, I eat 1 year of his through 500 million, whatever the freaking contract
Yeah,
is.
you get a free year, and not only that, you get the best free
Free.
year
I'm
out
still
of that.
stuck with 300 and something thousand million or whatever.
No,
it
not
is.
stuck. You're not looking at it
100
that way.
million.
You look at it as an investment. That's how it is.
You know, it'd be great.
You're not stuck with 100, 300 million. Yeah, listen.
You know, it'd be great. You know what the trade I would love to see just to piss off McNeil? Trade him to Oakland for Butler, the guy out Butler. Butler would be great in New York. Oh my gosh, that'd make me happy just to see those two nemesis on the same team again, McNeil and Lindor, and let him, bring down that clubhouse.
That would be
Wouldn't that be
crazy.
amazing?
That would be crazy. But you
Come
know
on,
what?
McNeil be like, I want to get traded now. I quit.
Nah, but that's not the point. The point is that a team like the Athletics isn't going to pay for that guy. You know what I'm saying? They're cheap with it. It would be a
No,
it would
they're
be
trying to build that stadium. So yeah, you're right.
it's gonna be somebody else. It wouldn't be that team. That's the one team that I can guarantee won't go for it. But there's other teams out there that would. Even the Yankees would think about that shit. So
Well, yes, they would because Volpe's been trash. Caballero has been okay, but if you bring in Lindor, where are you gonna put Caballero?
who
You know what I
cares at
mean?
this point? Who cares?
I,
That's how that works. You
but they're
got
gonna keep
Lindor playing
Caballero.
shortstop
He's
for the Yankees.
younger.
No, it doesn't matter. It's about winning now. That piece will change the dynamic of that team. Even
No,
and they're
that's
hot
true.
already, and they're fucking hot already. That will make it crazy.
That's true. Uh, because then you can rotate him in the DH slot. When Judge is in the field, just put him at DH, and then you know what I mean.
I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to,
But
I'm not,
you have to get rid of more than one guy. Lindor's not enough if you really want to fix that organization.
I'm not trying to sell Lindor on anybody. I'm just saying that there's teams out there that would definitely take on his contract, the remainder of it, and us sending him with one, even more. Like you want to make a deal, this is how you make a deal. But the team is broken. The team needs a lot of drastic changes, whatever. I don't care anymore. It's hard to watch. I can't watch games anymore.
No, it's very frustrating. I would be frustrated too because it's like, why am I gonna spend 2.5 hours of my night to watch something I know what's gonna be the outcome? Most likely, what's that gonna be? Sloppy ball. They're probably gonna lose the game. Or they have a good inning or two. The pitching had lights out, and then the bullpen comes in. The bullpen, excuse me, comes in, and they just blow it. It's like the same song and story, you know. And it's like, why waste my time? You know what I mean? Like you said, why am I gonna do that? I go to bed early, or go to bed at 9 o'clock, get a good night rest, or go to bed at freaking whatever time the game ends, and then be pissed off because they blew a game they should have won. Like I said, if there's one guy I feel sorry for the most on that team is Freddie Peralta
How
and
about Nolan McClain?
and McLean too. Those two guys because they've been the 1-2 punch. They come out every day. McLean more so because he's gonna be the long term guy there. He's gonna be there for a long time, and
He's another guy you could definitely dangle for some amazing pieces, especially with the control ability. That would be a serious haul. That guy would be. You could get a haul for him. You could change his whole team around, and you have the pieces to do it. You have a lot of good pieces that aren't working at the moment here, but could be excellent pieces elsewhere, and you could dismantle this team and say, all right, I'm gonna play with the house money and see what happens. Like you spend so much, you have to take the attention off of you. We can't be the second, highest, payroll in baseball and we play and not doing anything exactly. All right, if we're not spending any money, we're trying to be conservative and trying to figure out what's good for our future. Then you play the youth and you keep the eyes off of you. You say, oh, that ball club is trying to figure things out. They're playing with a lot of youth. They have a lot of good stars that are up and coming. It's a different look, to this. Second highest payroll and we play like trash. Get out of here. Then the team that spent just a little bit more than us is in first place all year round. No way. No way. That makes no sense to me. At this point, our seasons are over. I think we had more fun last year. This season hit us with a gut punch, and I haven't been able to get up.
Well,
yet.
Last year you were riding high from the NLCS appearance, and so so that's why it got you so far. But then it wore out. It's like adrenaline in your body, right? You have all this adrenaline when something traumatic happens, good or bad. And then all of a sudden it runs out. You're like, oh my God, my body hurts. Like if you got in an accident, you don't realize how painful you are until the adrenaline wears away. Same thing. You realize once the dust settles with the Mets and everything, you realize, oh my God, this team is so far behind than we really thought. And I truly think Stearns probably really thought, listen, we're really, because 2 years ago we are talking about they're a couple pieces away from going to the World Series,
Yeah.
and Stearns probably thought the same thing. He goes, listen, let me get rid of these guys. They're kind of aging guys. That's the reason why they got rid of them. Aging guys
It made
want a
sense.
lot of money. It made sense. I agree with it. I thought they were good deals. The best deal I think was the Luis Roberts. I like Roberts. I think he's an upgrade
And what he's
from
at
last year.
IL.
But now he's hurt. But that's always the problem he has in Chicago.
Injury
When he's
prone.
on the field, he's great. When he's not on the field, when he is on the field, great. When he's not on the field, well, whatever.
No, but that's one guy that we're gonna have to play out the contract with, because that guy, nobody's gonna pick that guy up. He's
But
injury
I'm
prone.
not giving him a lot of money, so it doesn't matter. You let him sit around.
Yeah.
No one's gonna take him, like you said. Who's not Roberts? I don't want Roberts. Unless you're gonna give me him with Lindor, then sure, let's go. And you give me, I'll take Lindor, Tong, and Roberts if I,
Get
and I'll
outta
give
here
you,
with that
I'll
shit.
give you
Oh
my
man,
top 3 prospects. I don't
stop-
know. You want to rebuild?
I know, but not like that. You sound crazy. No, we're not desperate like that, bro. We're still a major league ball club. Like you want Lindor, Roberts, and Tong for what? What do you want? I'll take your whole team for those 3 players. Like, what's wrong with you? What I'm saying? Don't you understand? You forgot what your record is. Your record is trash too. At 16,
Well,
and 20,
I'm not saying Baltimore, and I'm not saying I'll trade for Baltimore. Baltimore's not going to do that. They have young guys. They're trying to get these
Look,
guys to see if they want to sign them or not.
I know, but nothing makes sense. Look at a team like Toronto, 16 and 20, same record as you. A
Made
team
it to the
that
World
went
Series.
to the series, right? And then on top of that, goes out and gets more pieces to make
Dylan
themselves
Cease.
better. For what? For nothing. Because look at them struggling. Boston, another team.
And the only guy they lost is Bichette, Toronto. Now Boston, you know what the problem with Boston is? They're a cheap son of a bitches. They don't. They're fed up with the team in Boston. Their GM and the owner Dombrowski, whatever his name is, doesn't spend any money like they used to, and you let go of guys in their prime for nothing. And the guys you got return, either they turn out to be bust. So if you're a Red Sox fan, you have every right to be mad. Coming from where they came from in 2004 when they won the World Series with Kevin Millar, Kevin Youkilis, all these guys,
a long time ago.
Veritek. Bro, you know how bad it is in Boston that they let go of Jason Veritek, their homegrown star who got into the World Series. They let him go too in this firing of Cora. That's pretty bad news when that guy from the team says, you know what? Bye, I'm out. I don't want to be here no more. It's like Mike Piazza telling the Mets, I don't want to be here no more. I don't want to be a coach. Goodbye. That would never happen. But that just tells you how bad it is. So it just tells you sometimes ownership can... The problem with ownership is if you get an owner who's too fat handsy and gets in the way of everything, like they do in football with the Jets, the owner, he gets his hands on everything, messes everything up. I don't think that's the case with Stearns. With Cohen. It just maybe he had too much faith in Stearns when he maybe should have been a little bit more cautious. I don't know. So I don't think Stearns is the type of guy. I don't think Cohen's the type of owner where he's like hovering over the guy and watching every decision Stearns makes. He says, you know what, you're the man of the baseball. I'm going to let you do your thing. You need money? Come to me. I'll give you the money. You sign who you want to sign. But other than that, I think that's all, Cohen's done. The other thing is, the question I always ask is like, in heart of heart, how much does he really care? I don't know. It's hard to tell. You can spend money. Spending money doesn't mean you care. It just means you're good at spending money.
He wants his product to win. Think about it. You don't invest so much money into a product and then you don't want it to be successful. Of course you do. He's a diehard Met fan on top of that. On top of all of that, he's a diehard Met fan. So, of course he wants his team to win. He has the ability to make it happen. All right, he chose Stearns to make the moves and spend his money. He's done it before. He's done amazing things. I think he's a great guy. I think he has an amazing mind when it comes to the sport. But this time it didn't work out. He's human. Yeah, all right. He put all these pieces together. They can't work together. It doesn't work out for some reason. I don't know what it is, but it's time for the hitter and pitcher of the week, and I guarantee you they're not on my team.
No, unfortunately, you are correct. So, hitter of the week is Hunter Goodman of the Colorado Rockies on April 29th versus Cincinnati Reds in a 13-2 win for the Rockies. He went 3 for 4, 2 home runs, a walk, 3 RBIs, and 4 runs. Let me tell you something about Colorado. They're a rebuilding team, but they're a sneaky, tough team. They play teams tough. You know, you played them. They swept you guys.
So thanks for
And
reminding me.
listen, they're a scrappy team. They might be a couple more years away from. Who knows? They could be a couple years away from
Everything
being
turns
competing.
around. Yeah, everything goes around, right?
So, it's all about if building the farm system does matter too.
With all those losses, yeah.
But the gunslinger of the week is on April 26th. Chris Sale for the Braves went 6 innings, 1 hit, 0 earned runs in a 6-2 win against the Philadelphia Phillies here in Atlanta. That was before they fired Robbie Thompson. They fired Thompson afterwards. See, that's another guy. If I'm the Mets, I'd weigh between him and Cora, because remember, everyone forgets Thompson has been in the playoffs every year. He brought his team to a right, or close to a World Series. Yeah, they were in the World Series, right? The Phillies.
Yeah.
So like, he's not a bad manager. He has more cachet than Alex Cora. Now, going back to the Dusty Baker, reason why Dusty Baker will never work is not because he's not a good manager. It's because the baseball is so freaking hung up on analytics, blah, 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 that they don't want someone that's going to fight them about the numbers. They want someone that's going to say, yes, 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 yes. That's why they hired Mendoza. Mendoza has nothing. He has no cachet. He took the job because, you take any job you give him because it's, one of 30 jobs, and you take it.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
he's not going to push back.
Yeah, they don't want anybody that's gonna, manage from their gut.
Question their, and that's the one thing I hate about baseball. That's why baseball was great in the early 2000s. It's my prime years as a kid. Is, if the pitcher was playing well, he's going to pitch into the 7th inning. You know what I mean? Who cares if he gave up one hit? Let's see if he get out of it. And 90% of the time they get out of it. Same thing with the closer. This this nonsense of a minimum of 3 hitters and then you can pull them is stupid. I know why they do it, so you don't just keep interchanging the bullpen. So Baker would be amazing. He'd definitely change it. Dusty Baker is like 1A to 1B to Buck Showalter. He's just another Buck Showalter, just a little bit older, but good fundamentals, knows the game really well. He's not big into the analytics. He's not gonna. You give him the analytics, he's gonna throw that notebook at your face. I don't want this garbage.
That's up to the general manager how much leeway he's gonna give this manager. You know what I'm saying? So now, who's in charge of that?
Stearns is very here's the thing. Okay, you get rid of Stearns. You know what they're gonna get? The Mets. They're gonna get another David Stearns. They want all these GMs to be heavy analytics because that's the way they see the baseball going. So you have to have two. You need an analytic GM plus an analytic coach. There's no GM that's not analytics because that's the way they've been trained now. So heavy on analytics, build up your analytics system, and try to go from there. So I think Baker would be great. I don't know if there'd be a lot of there might be a lot of pushback. Who knows? Maybe Dusty Baker's now that he's old, he's like, whatever, I don't care. Maybe he'll just push back on important things, but not on everything. You know what I mean? Where like Buck Showalter, he pushed back on a lot of things. That's the number one reason why they let him go. Because Buck likes the numbers. If you watch his interviews, he's like, I'm pro analytics. He thinks analytics are great. But it's about deciphering when to use it and when not to use it based on the situation. But they don't want him to do that. They don't want him to do that. Well, the number said, they don't want anyone to do that. The number said third time around, Peralta's gonna ERA jumps up to 2.1. What the hell is the difference between 1.5 and 2.0? It's not the end of the world,
It's weird. I mean, so the question of the week, right? It's not really a question, but it's more of an opinion based type situation where you're gonna tell me what you think your team should be doing at this point. So at 16-20, that's a pretty good decent size to measure where your team is going. Do you think that your team can go on a run and right the ship at this point and make it into the playoffs with this team that you have now? Or do you think it's time to start thinking about where you're gonna shave and what pieces you're looking for? Or are you I don't think we even have the opportunity to do that? What would you do as a GM right now? How are you thinking?
So I'm gonna break it down two ways. From a pitching standpoint, absolutely not. They don't have the pitching. They don't have the pitching is shot. So no. From an offensive standpoint, you know Jordan Westberg is still out. Jackson Holiday's still out. We haven't gotten to the dead heat of summer. Are they going to heat up them? I don't know. They have the ability. They're a very talented team. You know what I mean? Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Sam Basallo has been killing it for the Orioles, the other catcher. You know, uh, Jeremiah Jackson, a nobody who's been doing great. So from an offensive standpoint, yeah, I think the offense will get it together. But pitching, nah. You need both. You need both. You need three phases, and then to get starting pitching let's say they go into trade deadline with a winning record and like a game out of the wild card, to trade for a starting pitcher, you're gonna have to give up a couple of those prospects. Mayo, you might have to give up Rutschman, which is fine because you already have a catcher in Basayo. So there are some pieces you could trade to do, but here's the thing. Don't trade for people if you're not going to re-sign them. Don't do another Corbin Burns where you trade for the guy, you send him all these things, and then don't re-sign the guy, and he walks at the end of September. That's stupid. Now
Gambling.
Yeah, it's like Russian roulette. But the thing is, like that Orioles trade with the Milwaukee Brewers, it hasn't really come back to bite him because Ortiz is okay, and the other pitcher they got, I forgot his name. He hasn't been all that great since he's gone over there. So I guess it's pretty even keel. I guess you know what I mean. So, but other than that, I right now, as of today, Cinco de Mayo, no, they would be sellers.
Got you. That's unfortunate because now we're looking forward to the 2028 season. This is how bad it is. It doesn't happen this year. It might be, we don't watch any
27,
baseball
yeah.
of 27. Then we have to wait for 28, and then at this point, it's a bad way to end it for us, man. It's not good. It's too early for this shit. But hopefully things turn around. We're gonna try to get more, creative with, our topics because we have to branch out and, forget about these teams that are making us hurt right now. I'm like I said, it's hard to watch baseball right now. So
it's gonna be a long season if we're talking about how bad the Orioles and the Mets
yeah,
are.
Yeah, but we're gonna switch it up. We have no choice. We're gonna have to, dive deep and branch out a little bit and talk about other things that are interesting in the league because at this point, it's hurting a lot of us. It's hurting all the podcasts. Everybody out there that's complaining about these things. It's the same thing. Listen, don't get it twisted. There's other podcasts that talk about every single team in baseball, but the craziest thing in baseball right now is the New York Mets. And based on how much money they spent, but you guys have a good night. We'll
see y'all next week.
Definitely.